Good evening, everyone. This is the July 27, 2022 meeting of the Auburn Conservation Commission. This meeting is being operated under a hybrid format under Chapter 22 of the Acts of 2022. The public can join the meeting remotely by telephone by dialing 1-408-650-3123 and using access code 942-845-549. Or the public can join via computer at global.gotomeeting.com/join/942-845-549. All supporting materials that have been provided to commissioners are available on the town's website, and the public is encouraged to follow along using the agenda that's also posted on the website. My name is Michael Garland. I'm chairman of the commission, and before we start, let me take a roll call of members that are participating this evening. So when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Tom Fallon?
Here.
Patrick Cunningham?
Here.
Megan Langley?
Here.
Okay, and we have a quorum. And also joining us, and when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Caleb Moody?
Here.
And Keith Heselton?
Here.
All right. And so before we start, I have to ask if anyone is recording this meeting. The answer being silence. Please note this meeting is being recorded by Auburn Cable Television, and it can be available for viewing later on. And having said that, the first item on tonight's agenda is the continued public hearing, Town of Auburn, a notice of intent to control invasive and nuisance non-native aquatic vegetation with the use of certain herbicides and algicides in the areas of Packagug Golf Course, Irrigation Pond, Eddy Pond, and Pondville Pond. Is there a motion open?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, it's a vote. And I think we are joined by Mr. Marangelo.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening. So I understand that you sent an email to Mr. Heselton at about 10:30 this morning?
Yes.
Okay. And so apparently, as we had discussed at the last meeting, I think we had given you the option of removing Eddy Pond in order for you to proceed with the notice of intent for the golf course, Irrigation Pond, and also Pondville Pond. And
That's correct. The town has decided to withdraw Eddy Pond from this notice of intent due to the natural heritage issues that we feel is going to take an extended amount of time to come to a resolution. We don't want to hold up the work at the other two ponds, so we will either file another notice of intent for Eddy Pond, or I suppose another option would be to request an amendment of the order once we have the issues dealt with.
do you have any idea when that issue might be addressed?
The first step is for the town to identify a qualified surveyor for the endangered species, which I believe they're still in the process of. So as long as that's identified and the survey can still be conducted this season, I would think that we would have everything in order to potentially put Eddy Pond back into the mix, either with a new NOI or with an amendment sometime over the fall or winter.
Okay. I mean, as a practical matter, when does the season for applying herbicides or algicides end?
Typically, we're done doing work on the ponds in September, after September.
Okay. So you think there's maybe a 50-50 chance we'll see you again for Eddy Pond? Or is that speculation?
During this work season, probably not. No, I think no matter what happens, I think we're going to be, it's going to take past September to come to a resolution. So I would say we would come back to you sometime over the late fall, winter, to address Eddy Pond.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
I have no other questions. Any questions from any members of the commission?
No. Nope.
Any comments from the public? There being none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Make the motion to close the public hearing.
Is there a second?
I second.
Is there any discussion? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, it's a vote. All right, thank you, Mr. Marangolo. Appreciate your participating tonight and over the other hearings we've had on this. And
Yes.
with any luck, we will issue our order of conditions sometime this evening.
Excellent. Thank you very much,
All right, thank you.
Commissioners. I appreciate your time.
Have a good night.
Take care.
Okay. Then the next item on our agenda is the 7:05 public hearing. Ryan McMahon, a notice of intent for property at 15 Bridle Path, the construction of an in-ground swimming pool within 13 feet of wetlands. Is there a motion open?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? There being none, all those in favor, say aye.
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 All right, it's a vote. Mr. McMahon, do you want to present your plan?
Sure. Thank you. Appreciate the time this evening.
Sure.
So we have at this property here, not a tremendous amount of backyard, as you can see, and the flat area being essentially right where the pool is outlined. We've looked at this a couple of different ways, and essentially the structure of the land is really the best place for it. Really no other opportunity to place it on this particular lot.
Right. So Michelle Colross, who's not here tonight, and I actually went to your property 2 Saturdays ago. You weren't home. I knocked on the door, rang the doorbell. And you know, what you show on the plan here is that's exactly what the conditions are. The issue or potential problem is that under our bylaws, we have a 25-foot no-build zone. And so in order for you basically would be needing a variance from that no-build zone in order to get, to be able to build your pool. And so there are 3 criteria that you need to satisfy. The first is that there are no practicable alternatives to the proposed action, that alteration of the resource area would be minimized to the greatest extent practicable, and compensatory or mitigation measures would be taken to protect the public interest in the resource area. So, I mean, I think it can be done, but I think you got to do a little more work in order to persuade us that you qualify for the waiver. And in terms of, and again, we can't give advisory opinions in this particular case, and I'll acknowledge that on Bridle Path, all your neighbors, most of your neighbors either have above-ground pools or in-ground pools. And so I understand there's a fairness issue here too. You haven't spoken to any wetland specialists or any engineers about this?
In what regard?
Well, in terms of your project being in compliance with our bylaw. Again, we don't, we take the 25-foot no-build zone pretty seriously here. In fact, very seriously. And so while we have given our waivers, we do it on a very limited basis. And so I think, and again, your project, it is what it is. We know what the presentation would be. But again, we have that requirement. So we don't want to, disadvantage you either, but you are building very close to the wetlands. And there it is the problem, So,
even though it's just a portion, I mean, I would venture that there's a corner of that is 25 feet. The problem is because we have a triangle lot, the smallest portion is what we're showing at 13 feet there.
Mhm.
It does get bigger as you follow the land, I'm sure you saw.
yes, ma'am.
So I'm guessing you have to take the smallest part and use that in the overall, but is there any flexibility knowing that it's only a small portion that's within the 25 feet, or does that matter?
I think you got to persuade us. And I don't say that glibly either. I'm just saying that I think you have to make some sort of showing that there's no other alternative, basically on the site.
Yeah, I mean,
And-
we're basically as close to the house as we could possibly
Yeah,
put it.
there's no other location at all. I mean,
And we're trying to keep the fence as close to the pool as possible too, to keep it away from the wetland as well. Yeah,
What's the dimension of the pool, by the way?
18 by 36.
So one option would be to have a smaller pool. right?
The 18, so where there's really, I mean, it would really not be possible. The distance from where the patio is to the wetland is less than, I want to say 75 feet or so. There's really, and they need a 5-foot, or I'm sorry, a 3-foot setback from the end of the patio. So there's really no option. The width of the pool, it would be essentially, useless at that point.
Really? You couldn't shrink the pool from 18 by 36 to 15 by 30?
15 wouldn't satisfy in this case because you'd still have so essentially at this
We
point.
couldn't get out of the variance.
Yeah, so you're talking about 25 feet, so 25-foot area we'd have to reduce by, so our most narrow is 13 feet, so we need to add another 12 feet to that, so the pool would be 6 feet wide.
I understand. All right. Okay. Any questions, Tom?
I'm just looking at, obviously we're very familiar with all the pools that were built here and looking
We
at
sure
the
are.
lot size.
New ones pop up every day.
And
And sometimes, and this is just anecdotal, but someone actually started building a pool without coming.
We're aware.
Yes. And we weren't real happy about it, as you can imagine, so.
We've done a number of projects here. We've been sat here maybe 4 or 5 times
Oh, yeah.
to discuss various elements, and we think that it's certainly important to follow the law.
I appreciate that.
So this is from a approach standpoint. We've tried many different views of how to structure it. Unfortunately, there's just nowhere. The lot is pie-shaped, and as a result of that, there's just really no other location to place it at all, unfortunately.
Okay, all right. Patrick, any comments?
No.
All right. Megan, anything to say?
No.
Okay. Is there any comment from the public? All right. So what is would you prefer to close the public hearing this evening, or do you want to continue it?
We prefer to close and ideally get a determination so we can move forward.
Okay. If that's
Can
what
I
you...
talk to him for 1 minute?
Of course.
He-
So sorry.
Are we allowed to just?
Okay, you've had a chance to confer?
Yes.
Okay. What's your preference? What would you like to do?
Unfortunately, there's just really no other path for us relative to this property. The mitigation steps that will be needed will certainly be taken, but unfortunately, there's really no other location to be able to put it in if we're going to have it.
Okay, that's fair. All right, if there's no other comment, is there a motion to close?
I make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Is there a second?
A second?
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, it's a vote. Okay, Mr. McMahon, we will deliberate further, and you will have our decision. Hopefully we'll issue a decision this evening.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, the next item on our agenda is Brendan Greeley, a notice of intent for property at 4 Washington Street for redevelopment of a newly constructed 3-bay metal garage and stormwater management. Is there a motion open?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, it's a vote. And who's going to present on behalf of Mr. Greeley?
Chris Thomas here with BSC Group. We're the engineers on the project.
Yes, hi, how are you?
Hi, good evening.
So we, Michelle Koros and I walked the site with Mr. Thomas about 2 Saturdays ago. The work that's proposed, or what shown on the plan, is complies with what we saw at the site. My opinion was that the wetland impact would be minimal, and that's really all I have to say. I think minimal disruption. You are going to be increasing impervious area though, correct?
We are going to be increasing impervious, but to attenuate our increase in flows from the new impervious from the garage, and to put any groundwater recharge, will be mitigated on site, any new impervious, with the bioretention area that's will be directly south of the garage.
Okay.
And that will overflow to an existing culvert that goes under Washington Street.
Any questions, Tom?
Nope.
Patrick, any questions?
Nope.
Caleb left.
Plan. John's still,
Okay. Do you have any comments?
do you have a plan? I just had a couple, through the chair, I just had a couple of questions.
Sure.
That's it? First question is the catch basin on the right side of the page shows it connected to the municipal sewer system.
Right, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Is that a, I'm not sure if that's a combined sewer in the street.
The drainage would not connect to the municipal sewer. It's not combined.
Right, I'm not sure if that's an error or if it's really a catch basin on a sewer line.
Okay, that's just something to think about because that's going to need to be cleared up. And the only other question I had was I don't see any oil water separator on the plan.
The only thing we're adding is clean roof runoff.
Well, you're adding a building with overhead garage doors that allow vehicles to enter and exit.
Yep, so you mean,
So the gas trap would be, the floor drains going to an oil water separator would be required.
inside the garage?
The drains would be inside and the oil water separator would normally be outside.
Oh, right, for the garage. Yes, that would be added as part of the garage.
Okay, I just didn't see it on the plan set anywhere. Those are my only comments.
Yep. Okay.
So the question is, Mr. Thomas, do you want to revise your plan to incorporate those issues or those matters that Mr. Moody raised?
We can revise it, yeah.
All right. The question is, I mean, I would prefer to see a revised plan before we close the public hearing. So do you have any objection to continuing this for 2 weeks?
Nope, that'll put us on
I think that'll be
the
the
10th.
10th, correct.
Yeah, that'll work fine.
All right. So when we do that, we'll continue the public hearing. And I know we have a full agenda, Keith. I don't know if we can fit them in. I'm sure you'll find some place to put them.
We'll make it work.
Okay, very good. All right, so is there a motion to continue the public hearing then for Washington Street to August 10th of 2022?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, it's a vote. Okay, Mr. Thomas, so we will see you in 2 weeks. And, obviously, if you can get us the revised plan before, then that would be appreciated.
Okay,
All right, thank you, sir.
thank you.
Okay. Okay, for other business, we have 10 Rotary Road. Mr. Diffuse? Yes. Hi, come on up. So I wanted to, obviously, you've got a letter from us indicating we had hoped, or we wanted you to basically make your wall comply with what had been previously submitted to the commission.
Correct. I did as much and as best as I could
Okay.
to come to that design as close as we could.
Okay,
I did contact Little Diggers, the contractor, who also told me, he said the design changes were for a reason. The original drawings would not have worked. The stairs, there was not enough room to make stairs in the original drawings, so I just wanted to show you what I have here.
okay.
For the original, because I know everybody seems to be, I'm sorry if I'm a little shaky, I just got out of back surgery 2 weeks ago. I put my heart, soul, and back into this project, literally. I just had L2, 3, and 4 fused, so I'm shaky right now.
Who's your doctor?
Dr. Kwan out of the New England Baptist.
Very good. He's one of the best.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah, so that's good.
I got more metal in my back than I do my backyard right now. So, if I go back to the original.
Sure.
Sorry. When we look right here, where the old water line was, you could see right, I'm trying to see where I am. That was like a floating dock. Right there where the tree is, that wall, that rock wall was right out to the water. Right? There was no buffer zone. That was all just washout and walls falling down all the way over to here. And then we started to get a little walkway here. That was all collapsed wall. And there was literally maybe 4 feet from the bottom of the stairs to where the dock was, to the edge of the water. So on my proposed plan, I always showed the bump up with the rocks here. What we were gonna do was originally do a 3-wall. We were gonna keep rock here because I had nothing but rocks there, and we were gonna try to reuse this. But then when the plan changed, because the stairs take, I designed this, I'm an electrician, I'm not a civil engineer, I tried my best. I need a lot more depth than the 10 feet or 11 feet that we were putting between each deck to make the stairs. So we got rid of the middle wall, and then instead of putting rock, because it was gonna have to be higher, we used this material so nothing would wash through, there'd be no maintenance, and it'd be there forever. So that bump out, we actually started it here, so there's more. And when we came around, as you can see from the engineer drawing, that bump out was just for the roots for the tree. That was always shown to be a very shallow area. I was trying to give as much as I could because I knew the tree was there. We had to come in front of it. But that bump out was always shown. It was just shown with rock,
Okay.
not block. We got all the way up to 14, 13 feet, I think, right there. And there is a small area here, 5 foot, the narrow point. But I got 12 on one side and 12'9" at the end of that pump out wall. So we went as much as humanly possible. We left the rocks that were in the original, that were in the water, those are still there. So if you guys want to come up and inspect, you can clearly see that was the old wall. That's where that old knockdown wall, the runoff from this whole hill came right down to there. And if we look at the original, there was nothing holding any of that back. This was all just falling down walls. So we did the best we did. That's the major change. Everything else stayed the same. If you look at our walls in the proposal, if you get rid of this middle wall or just move that down, this stayed the same. We still have this here. We put riprap. down here, we did apply and ask permission, and went through you before we did anything to remove that tree, because no one would work near it. It was diseased and coming down and growing together and
Right.
rotted out at the base, and no one would work near it. And then this, because it was a hill, we took down this hill, because we would have had to make a giant wall on my neighbor's side, so we didn't. We took the curse off it and removed this stuff and extended all this riprap. So there is, as you can see, a lot of riprap, this whole hill. Anything that's towards the neighbors is a good 4 foot deep of riprap, all the way down here, and then there's a riprap dam, just as we had stated here, is right here at the bottom. What they told me not to do is put it on both sides. He said, because you want to pitch this way and have it all go towards this right-hand side.
Okay.
Which we did, and I did get that done. I did start these railings. I got as far as,
You got this part.
I got this part over roughly, actually right here, I got this first section done.
So, I guess I'm not clear. Was any portion of the wall taken down?
So no, I wasn't able to take down any of the wall, because to do that is a complete re-engineer. And they're telling me if I'm gonna have access through with stairs, see how we had to even turn the stairs this way to make this height? There's no way to get access up and down as this. We actually had to put stairs, we got a couple little, like a hill coming down to here, because these stairs were so high. We did everything we could to keep it at minimal. There is actually this, if you wanted to count the third wall, there's a small one up here and here.
Okay. So, will you be around this weekend?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
I
You
think
guys
we're
are more than welcome to
All right.
come up anytime. I don't have any trespassing signs up. I'm more than welcome to come up, inspect. I honestly, and I can't say this enough, I know you guys think I was trying to change it on the fly. When the building inspector came up and inspected the erosion control, that's what just made me believe that he was the one that was gonna, okay, when we ran it by him and he said, yeah, I didn't realize he was a different commission. When he was inspecting the erosion control, I honest to God, I wasn't trying to avoid, I went to you guys for a tree. I would've went to you if I thought I had to for this. I thought the building inspector owned all the wall building. That's the only reason I didn't come to you
All
guys.
right.
I wasn't trying to get away with anything.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we just we'll plan to come by your place on Saturday,
That'd be great.
and we'll take another look.
Okay,
Okay?
excellent.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. So if you know Dr. Kwan, you must recognize some of his work.
It's not, actually, that's not bad.
Not for
Not bad at all.
tree fusion, bars, and he had to jack apart the discs. He did a great job if I'm walking in 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. The next matter on our agenda was 426 Leicester Street. I had sent a letter out back mid-June to Mr. Hung Then Vong, who had acquired the property via foreclosure in January. You may recall that there was a lot of trash and debris very close to the stream on the other side of the house at 426 Leicester Street. He was directed to remove the trash and debris by July 1st. I actually drove by there before coming here tonight, and lo and behold, all the trash and debris was removed. So I think we can take that off our agenda. I imagine because he is, my understanding is that he's going to be redeveloping that house. God knows it needs it, so I would assume we will see him, or we may be seeing a filing from him sometime in the future. So that's something to keep in mind. With respect to Lundgren Honda, Tom and I had gone out prior to the last meeting. The applicant was going to reestablish the rain garden, take care of some sand that was in the roadway. I don't know if they've done that. We haven't heard from them, have they?
No,
Have we?
I think they'll be ready for next meeting.
Okay, so we'll continue that to August 10th. And then with respect to 23 Brook Street, I have not been back out to Mr. Muhammad's house, but maybe that's something we can also do on Saturday. So, with respect to the closed public hearings, the Town of Auburn, the herbicides and algicides, is there a motion?
I make a motion that we issue a standard order of conditions and the following special conditions. Number is 1. We don't really need 2 because they're just doing treatment. 3,
Correct. Yep.
8, and 11.
Okay. So,
It's a simple one.
House motion is standard order plus 1, 3, 8, and 11. Is there a second?
Second?
Is there any discussion? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, it's a vote. Before we continue, I see we have Mr. O'Connell on. Good evening, sir.
Hi, Mr. Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Great. I just wanted to drop in. I know Mark Michella from JM Cool have been trying to correspond with you regarding a National Grid issue.
Yes.
Were you able to connect with him, or do I need to kind of represent this issue and briefly speak
I got
about
email
it?
from him late this afternoon in my office, and frankly, I did not have enough time because I had certain things I had to get done. And so,
Sure.
I did not have enough time to either review, I think he sent me 3 or 4 attachments, if not more. And no, I did not have an opportunity to speak to him. So,
Okay. At the board's, pleasure, I'm happy when this evening, if possible, if the board's ready to give you a very brief summary of really what the request is. Probably save you time, that you don't need to spend reviewing those attachments. But obviously, I know we're not on the agenda. I don't necessarily believe it's an agenda item, but an opportunity to speak to you as a group.
why don't you tell us
What-
what the issue is, and I guess we'll make a decision whether or not we can take any action or if it needs to go on our agenda for August 10th.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you for the opportunity. So, as you recall, the Auburn Commerce Park subdivision was approved, issued an order of conditions. It showed everything that subdivision show, roads, stormwater, in this case, utilities. They show an electric line. In addition to the Auburn Commerce Park subdivision, the commission approved and issued an order of conditions for Ross Express site plan, which showed, again, stormwater, utilities, other sorts of infrastructure. And National Grid can be funny sometimes. They suggested that the power be supplied to the subdivision via overhead poles and wires, and we got permission from the planning board to do so. And before National Grid schedules their work, they wanted assurances that was okay with the Conservation Commission. So I had said, why wouldn't it be okay? You're going to install poles in small little areas as opposed to a trench the whole length. And they say, well, this is just the way we operate. So our request is that the commission, essentially, hopefully they would agree that your approvals that have been granted to date, subdivision and site plan orders of conditions, would allow the installation of electricity via overhead poles and wires versus, in the ground trenches for the whole length of the road, and then from the road to the proposed, Ross building.
So, I guess my response to that would be, obviously, we need a new plan or revised plan showing the location of those poles. You agree with that, right? And secondly,
Yeah, I believe. Yeah.
we would
Okay.
also
Sorry.
need to know whether any of the poles are within wetland areas. I mean, if it's within 100 foot, and you're familiar with the site as we are because we've been out there a bunch of times. I think if any of the poles are located in wetlands or within our jurisdiction, I don't think we need to have a full-blown hearing, but I think at a minimum we need to see a plan. And I think to the extent that it may result in an amendment to the order of conditions. I think there has to be a public hearing on it. You know, unfortunately, I wish I had received the email before, you know, I think it came in sometime this afternoon. So if if I had not more of an opportunity to review it, maybe my feelings would be a little different about it. But I think at this point, I think and I think because it is, it may not be a substantial change, but I think it's a significant change. And I think for that reason, I'd want to see a plan showing where the poles are located, and then I think we can have a further discussion about this at the next meeting on August 10th.
Yeah, that's fair. I believe the attachments that were sent to you, and again, we'll provide them in a more formal manner, would include a plan by National Grid showing the pole locations.
Okay.
I can tell you, just for discussion, that there are no poles located in wetland areas. It's only would be buffer zone areas and no closer to wetland resources than the electric trench would have been.
Understood.
But again, we're happy to provide that information in a kind of more formal manner.
Okay, I think again that's probably the right way to do it. So we will arrange to see you then on August 10th.
Okay, sounds great. I'll get something over to Keith tomorrow.
Okay. All right, thank you, appreciate
Okay.
it.
Thanks for your time. Thank you very much.
All right,
Thanks.
take care.
Good night. Bye-bye.
All right. Didn't expect that. All right, for Ryan McMahon and the in-ground pool at 15 Bridle Path.
Before we issue an order of conditions, we need to vote on whether or not to grant the waiver, correct?
Well, he doesn't get, he can't get an order of conditions unless we give him the waiver. That's exactly right.
Right.
You know, so the question is, and again, this situation's a little different. We've, I think, if memory serves me, yeah, we've approved a bunch of pools on Bridle Path, but none of them were 13 feet away from the wetlands either. So I think given the nature of that particular property, I think this is the closest, this will have and it may not even necessarily have an impact, but again, you know, we should be reluctant to, you know, grant waivers to our bylaws when it comes to no build. You know, I think, not that it necessarily sets a precedent, but I mean, I guess the question is, do we feel that the applicant has done enough of an alternatives analysis so that it would justify the issuance of a variance? And that's when, that's what I was trying to get at when we're having our public hearing. So I think, me personally, I think I'm on the fence about granting the waiver, but I'm just one vote. What's your feeling?
I feel that the evidence they presented and looking at the plot plan and being familiar with the site and the fact that it's an intermittent stream, that given what they have to do for setbacks and as far as asking them to make a smaller size, that I'd be inclined to grant them the waiver. Plus the fact that it's an above ground pool and not an in-ground pool.
No, it is an in-ground pool.
It is an in-ground pool?
I think so.
Yes. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. So there's going to be disturbance there, obviously. So, all right. Patrick, what do you think?
I don't think they submitted enough information to us for me to approve a waiver. I think even with an alternative plan, even if they said they had an alternative plan, it's close. They're going to be a victim to their setbacks and that triangular lot itself. The argument that the neighbors had or have the ability to put pools in their lots are rectangular. They're slightly farther. It's a different situation altogether. So I think even with additional materials, I'm going to find it pretty difficult to approve a waiver for this type of...
I mean, I think what they presented was a best case scenario. With
Yeah.
the best case scenario, it's 13 feet away. And so the problem, of course, is that, as you said, depending on what the site conditions are, it might be closer than that. I was also, I mean, I think they could put in a different type of pool. You know, a smaller pool, a round pool. You know, I understand this is what they want. So I actually share your reservations about it. Megan, what do you think?
Yeah, I have some reservations. I mean, I understand that they are very convinced that there are no alternatives, but for myself, I would actually like to see something more formal drafted before I was convinced that it was that there really are no other alternatives.
Okay. The problem we have then is that the applicant actually gave us, they were not willing to continue the public hearing to August 10th. They wanted us to close the public hearing, which we did at their request. And so I think based on the available information, it seems like the vote is 3-1 against issuing the waiver. So I wish, unfortunately, I wish they had agreed to continue the public hearing, because at that point they might have been able to submit additional information. So why don't we do it this way? Let's do it officially. So is there a motion whether or not to grant a waiver for 15 Brattle Path, given what's been submitted to the commission? First of all, I need a motion, I need a second, then we can vote on it.
All right, I'll make a motion that, to issue a waiver
For 15 Brattle Path.
for 15 Brattle Path.
Okay.
Correct.
Is there a second?
So I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor of granting the waiver say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed to granting the waiver say nay.
Nay.
Nay. Okay, so by a vote of 3-1, the waiver is not granted. Therefore, we have to issue a negative order of conditions, or advise them that we cannot issue an order of conditions for their project at 15 Bridle Path. Okay. I think that's it. So Mr. Heston's indicated that we have a full agenda for August 10th. Hopefully Michelle won't be seeing an elderly rock star in a couple weeks, or off to Spain, or,
Final tour.
you know. So in any event, is there any new business? There being new business, no new business, is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Is there a second?
I second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, it's a vote. All right, everyone, thank you for participating this evening. Sidewalks on Saturday for those that can attend. I'll send an email. We have a couple to do, but and then I'll see you on August 9th.